Portugal. I was drinking wine during the meeting and they were all like, it's noon. It's noon for you, but not for me.
My best call was with someone who was in the like Arctic Circle. Like, I don't know how they had Wi-Fi. And there were reindeer walking in the background. It was hilarious. I was like,
What?
seriously?
Is that
I should be
real?
hanging out with the reindeer, not on a call.
I know.
you know?
Get away from your work.
Seriously.
Right.
Charles, can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear.
We're ready to go.
All right. No, she ready?
Yes.
All right, then we'll call the meeting to order. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None from staff.
No? Okay, any public comments?
None. None today.
Then we will move on to the review of the minutes. Could someone move the minute?
I move the minutes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Can I second if I wasn't here?
You can't.
You
Okay.
can, yeah.
I'll second.
My only, any addition. My only correction is that I don't really care, but in one sentence I was the chairperson and in another sentence I was the vice chair. So whatever you want to call me is fine.
Roman numeral #1. You're the chairperson for
Some
right now.
consistency.
We'll go to elections in April, maybe.
That's true. Vice president, vice chairperson. No,
Okay, all in favor of accepting the minutes as with the one little correction?
Yeah.
Aye.
yeah,
Aye.
Yeah, just as a point of information, we're using an outside minute taker for the governance meetings, so some of these things that are very familiar to Charles
Right,
are not necessarily familiar with somebody who doesn't attend the meetings and looks at the videos afterwards. This frees up a little bit of Charles' time, just a little bit, by going to this route.
all right, so the next thing on the agenda. The agenda is the procurement of the independent contractors and. John, I mean,
This is
very
our-
familiar
This
with
is
that.
our annual procurement.
Annual
We did
procurement.
a competitive RFP process 2 years ago. Effectively, it became, and this is the third year that we can renew contracts without going through an RFP. We can always do an RFP, but this is our, we were obligated by HUD rules to not go more than 3 years without doing an RFP. And this is, so we're allowed this year to do 1-year extensions if we want to continue. And that's what these procurement resolutions are all for. We've got both our underwriter for loans, which is Harry Sickerman / Harrison Studio, and then our legal services. There's one legal service missing from this because we currently have Marriott Geldenhuis, Sharon Slomowitz, and Corinne Flaherty. When Corinne was concerned that the amount of work we can provide to her doesn't offset her insurance costs that she has to carry if she does the work outside of her workplace. So she has declined to continue.
okay.
So that's the framework for
Do
this.
we need to replace her?
I think it would be best to do it when we did an RFP for all of them, because people are not gonna come out of the woodwork for like $3,000 of legal services, probably, is wherever she was at.
All right, I do, so we'll take them separately.
Yes, I think you should.
All right, so the first one is Shimmerman / Harrison Studios. Could we have someone move
So
that?
moved.
Okay. I do have one. Do we need a second?
Oh, I'll second that.
In the resolve, I don't know if you want to read the resolve. It does say for independent contractor legal services,
Oh,
which I don't think is.
that should be
Correct.
community development. Thank you.
Good catch.
And-
That's a nice
and-
hourly rate.
Yeah, and for, I mean, Donna is aware of the underwriter at the, who does the work that goes to the ED committee. So this is Mike Thomas, who did that underwriting, is really what we're paying for with this service. That's 99% of the work we do is loan underwriting.
Okay.
Do you want the resolve read or?
I don't think we need to, you
I
could
don't
just
think so,
reference
okay.
the,
All in favor of accepting this contract with the little correction and
Aye.
aye. Okay. Then we move on to Mariette Gildenhuis. She has been, I didn't realize how long she's been doing.
Yeah,
this.
she's-
It's
She
like
was doing it.
2000.
She was doing it when I was on council 20 years ago.
And I love how she
Yeah.
includes the history.
Documentary.
Oh, yeah. So,
I think she started after she was the city attorney.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she had been city attorney. Right.
all right, can somebody move this?
I will.
Okay,
Second.
we'll go the other way. Second. Any comments, questions?
A modest price increase. I'm still very satisfied with the work she does, from real estate to municipal government to mediation services. I mean, she's a great resource because she's got that breadth of skills that we really lean on her right now as our primary legal consultant.
Have that depth of experience too. My goodness. But, right.
I'm just a curiosity when it says in the resolve that you check with your legal. Where does it say? Where can I get legal service?
Sometimes.
Source of the law, somewhere it says you check with your legal services about the contract.
Subject to legal review. Yeah, we'll do that, and if it's for Marriott, we'll have Sharon take a
Sharon
look
look
at
at
the
it.
contract and vice versa.
All right, all in favor of accepting Marriott's?
Aye.
And then, but not least, is Sharon Slomowitz.
Yeah, Sharon is our kind of home expert for the home projects, especially when there's a tax credit, so that's when she gets the real heavy workload. And she has kindly not proposed not to increase her hourly rate this year.
Yeah,
She did have a little jump the year before, so maybe it's kind of not that different from everybody when you look over 3 years, but nice to see a flat rate when you get one.
right, and they a nice break that they give to the.
Yes, it's very fortunate.
All right,
So moved.
moved, seconded. Okay, all in favor, please sit in chair and say aye. All right. Thank you for giving such, back to the agenda and see where we are.
Those were the action
Pretty
items.
short.
Now we go on to reporting information.
We gotta drag this out.
I was gonna say, so you may want to talk about everything, because we only been in for 10 minutes.
Not worth parking my car.
Yeah.
These are the most dangerous coming comes to be. These are, you have 3 items, people can just go on.
It's so true. They're hours long. Yeah.
As witnessed last night, they had a similar short agenda, I think, in a long time. But I did want to update you on the current urban renewal projects. The big one that we've been working on for years now is the Inlet Island project. We finally made progress, and Don has heard this already. We finally made progress with the agreement between the DEC and the city to swap land and get control of the building that the Coast Guard Auxiliary uses and provide Coast Guard Auxiliary with alternative ways to provide their services and free use of the fire training center for classes and a boat slip at the marina, the state marina, and other things that seem to meet their needs. But then our developer basically said they're not sure that the project is financially feasible anymore with interest rates higher, construction costs higher. And they were not very communicative about it, so 6 months passed before they kind of clued me in that they weren't making progress towards their site submission, their application. So the ED committee passed a resolution to terminate the exclusive developer agreement with Finger Lakes Development. Steve Flash and Jeff Wernland is the principals we've been working with. And then that went to the IRA in December, and the IRA decided to table it for 1 month because it was the holiday season, and the developers said that they have started a conversation with a hotelier who thinks they can make the project financially feasible, and that's the Baywood Hotel Group, which have developed the Canopy Hotel downtown.
What nice.
So it was a little extra time. They came to the ED committee and gave a little snapshot. They're basically saying there's still a lot of feasibility questions, but they're working through them. And this original resolution to rescind or terminate the exclusive developer agreement will come to the IRA next Friday. And they can either pass it and terminate it, table it for another 30 days or something, or do something different. The ED committee, I think, is it's not particularly encouraged that the project is a go project, yet, because there's so many what if questions still circulating around and. So that one is very much in limbo, I guess. It's in limbo right now for sure, certain. Which way we go, which direction is yet to be decided. I know it's done. If you had anything you wanted to add about that, okay. So,
So we control the property?
so the land ownership out there is a mix of city and IRA land where the parking lot is
Yeah.
and where the boat storage has been. And then we have this conceptual agreement with DEC for the land swap with the Coast Guard Authority in return for easements
Okay,
on the island where they could set up their pumping and dredge facilities.
yeah, I get it.
So, so we do have good site control for most of it.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something.
The challenges that the developer says are facing, one of the bigger ones is the floodplain regulations, which require them to release the hotel, which creates other challenges with the site.
Yeah.
It's just a small island and it's narrow. And our goals for the project were affordable housing, enhanced public access, and activating the waterfront there, which is underutilized, and trying to preserve water dependent uses as best we can. So
So it's hotel hall.
the hotel really becomes the financial vehicle for accomplishing.
I see.
this thing. And I think everybody's rethinking, is a hotel the best use? I think is more or less where some of the rethinking is coming up.
So is the housing project still?
So the housing project is an INHS supported affordable
Right.
housing project, about 55 units. That is still potentially a go. They haven't pulled out. They're still willing to do the project, but they have to hit a timeline for funding applications once a year.
Mhm.
So I'll talk about the second urban renewal project
Okay,
that's related to this, but they would apply in 2026 for funding. For the
in the
Inland
Island
Island
project.
project, if it's still a go. 2020, and so 2025 this year is, they're gonna apply for my second update on the urban renewal projects. The city agreed, well, let's back up a second, Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services has an option agreement to buy the former city or Family Medicine Associates
Yeah.
building on West State Street. So that's now is vacant, 200 block of West State Street.
The one that's on the corner.
Was it-
Family medicine?
No, the other way.
State Street,
Yeah, I know,
gotcha,
the names are so similar.
So they're not in that space anymore.
Right, they've
Yeah,
moved to the Carpenter Park, Cougar Medical Building Office, so that's where that practice is now. So the building's been vacant for 9 months or so. INHS was able to acquire an option for that portion. The city owns a 13 space parking lot facing towards the commons. And what INHS would like to do is a 55 unit housing project, about the same size as the one in Inland Island, and have a ground floor Head Start center.
just in the parking lot?
No, they
No,
would,
it's like,
they would need
okay.
to, they would
They
need
need
to
the whole
acquire
space.
both parcels,
Yeah.
and so they have one parcel, it's not big enough to do everything. If they acquire the city's parking lot, then they could do it. And interestingly enough, back in the late 80s, the city and the IRA acquired that former mobile gas station and conveyed it to the family medicine practice. So it's coming recently, it's our second time in on that property. So the common council did authorize conveying it to the IRA for the purposes of structuring an urban renewal project, but that would include affordable housing. And INHS is the only one who has site control of the adjacent property, so they will be the sponsor that will bring forward.
That's cool.
So that's just happened in the last month.
And how's the, oh, sorry.
Like Breckenridge.
It's very much similar
Breckenridge
size
too,
of Breckenridge, exactly, and this, so this project, they would submit for the 2025 funding round. Because they would have full site control, if they can get through the urban renewal process, that's why they're pushing the Inland Island one off to the 2026, because there's still what if questions on it. So those are the two projects going forward at the moment.
And how's the Head Start piece?
So they're working,
I mean, how do they manage that? Like, how do they bring that in?
it's very similar to the 210 Hancock project.
Yeah, I was
where they have-
wondering, yeah. okay.
They can apply for some community facility funding as part of the application. And they're working with TC Action, who would then lease a space at a very affordable rate. And they would then set them up in the ground floor. Now, TC action is dependent on federal funding in many respects,
Yeah, of
so
course.
there's this question all of a sudden.
Oh, really?
What looked like a sure thing is now like, maybe not.
Yeah.
But they have a backup discussion with downtown Ithaca Community Child Care Center, the one's up on First Street, that could also potentially. Work.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that, cause I live around the corner from the
Yeah.
210 Hancock and. Man, as far as I'm concerned, that's the best thing IHS has ever done.
It's a
Like,
great project.
it's an incredible facility and having that on the ground floor, it's just been wonderful in the neighborhood again.
Nice to hear that, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we walk by and we're just like, they did such a good job on this, and that was a number of years ago.
There was a
So,
lot of opposition that went to by the immediate neighbor, not by the community at large.
no, we are the immediate neighborhood.
You are now,
We-
yeah.
No, well, no, we
Oh, you
were,
were then?
no, we were then, we had friends who were against it, and we
Yeah.
were just like, what are you talking about? Like, it was that PNC was.
Yeah.
Turned into the family pride, which was a total disaster. And like, it was an eyesore for so long, and to have this beautiful facility there.
They
in
did
those nice
beautiful
houses.
job.
And now they're starting to turn over, right? People who went in originally are starting to sell those units and.
Rental housing and for sale housing.
Condos. Oh my God, I love it.
Speaking of which is the other Hancock Street project, is that done for the?
Oh, the north side housing, which was in
Yeah,
the
I
housing
think that's
authority?
what to call it,
Yes,
yeah.
that's basically finished. I went to the ribbon cutting in a cool November day, I think it was.
Oh, over there. Oh my God, they did a great job.
Yeah,
over there.
that's worked out. I mean, the people are very happy with it. It looks very good. Some of the concerns that originally were there seem to have worked out well. I mean, people thought that the visions of the housing looked kind of fakey, but they actually worked pretty nice. They really fit in nice.
Again, I'm really,
Yeah.
I drive by there all the time
Yeah.
and it was so depressing before.
Yeah,
And now, just the little touches they did, again, it's all about like the accents
Yeah,
that
it's
you
a little
put in.
stone work here,
Exactly,
yeah,
it just, I think it looks I get the fakey part like initially, but I think it's settling in
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very nicely.
It's an all-electric building as well, which was the first one the state funded
Didn't know that.
in the state, and actually the Tompkins County and the city went to bat with the state to say, you know, this should be all electric, and it should include cooling opportunities rather than just heating, because we've been experiencing these
Yeah.
pretty hot,
Really,
horrendous.
the heat
Mhm.
pumps.
Yeah,
then-
so now they're heat pumps,
Right,
right, yeah.
then
so-
you get the cooling automatically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So are they all the units open or the ones on the?
My understanding
Inside the
is,
seats
I
still.
think there might be ones just on Third Street as you get towards.
Yeah,
Those
13,
might
yeah.
not quite be.
I didn't think they
finished.
were, yeah, they were kind of.
But they've been bringing in tenants for sure.
No, we walked by there and we've seen tenants, certainly on the other side,
The Hancock side.
not
Or,
the Hancock side,
the
on the,
Conway Park side.
yeah, the Madison side.
Yeah.
We've seen families in there, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
it was really fun to watch that project.
So now, so these are projects done through what HUD calls the RAV process, but a RAD process. But they're no longer owned by the Housing Authority. They created a special entity, because to use tax credits, you have to have a taxable ownership. If you're tax exempt, you don't get any benefits, you can't generate any equity from it. So it's an overlapping board basically with the Housing Authority, but if somebody were to ask you how many housing units are there in the Housing Authority now, there are 235, all at Titus Towers. That's the only Housing Authority units left.
who owns the one going up Hector Street?
That's again, part of this group that built the north side. It's
Oh, okay.
the Ithaca Housing Authority governance. It's just under a different name. But it will no longer be Housing Authority regulations. They're now more like an INHS in terms of their regulations. They did have to provide a lot of protections for tenants under this RAD process, which gives everybody a chance to take their voucher basically and move outside of the area if they don't like it. They can take their voucher and move to a privately owned home. If somebody will accept that voucher. So there's some nice protections in this for tenants. And everybody who was dislocated for the renovation had a right to come back in.
I was
But
curious
it
how
did
many,
take like 2.5 years.
yeah, I mean, they have to, by law, provide housing for people who are dislocated.
They had a better, yeah, they gave them vouchers
Relocate.
basically to relocate, yeah.
I wonder how many of those people actually came back.
That's a good question. We could ask.
I always
them.
I always wonder
Yeah.
these things,
Yeah,
like,
that was the hard part.
We know
was
it's
seeing all
in-
those people kind of kicked out. right?
I know. But they did go to the residents and they were strongly in support of the project,
Of course,
generally.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you 2.5 years. back there.
Yeah.
No, I know, but
Well,
I would
this
be
one-
curious to know how many people came back.
this one was all at once. I mean, sometimes they what, they don't fill when people have moved out, they move people from this to this section, we do this, and then move them back and we do this.
It was originally designed as a phased project and they were gonna do that, and then for some reason, the finance, you gotta do it all in one fell swoop, so once you're taking out the debt. You don't wanna just let it sit there and have to pay interest on it, if you wanna start deploying it back. in the
And I would have hated certain parts getting it and then other parts maybe with the
Yeah.
financing falling
Yeah.
apart or with what's happening in the federal government, who knows, right? So I was really glad to see it just done.
Yeah, it's
But in
been,
a housing market that's tough, it's hard to relocate. that many
Yes.
People.
yeah, no, it was a bit of a challenge for them. They had a specialist working on relocation that was working full-time for a period of months to do that. So, but as we know, finding affordable housing.
Yeah, it's all-
Doesn't matter, you can work for a long time, but it can be hard to find.
Yeah,
Some went into Asteria at the time. I think many of them moved back out. Because that was a challenging place to live for a while. So anyway, that's the story there.
And then Nels, can I ask you what's happening across 13, that new by community gardens?
Yeah, that's a part of the Carpenter Park
Yeah.
development, which included the Hugo Medical,
Yeah, which we love.
the affordable housing.
Yeah.
You know, as you go into the farmer's market, and
Yeah.
then this is a market rate housing with ground floor retail and some, structured parking. So there'll be something like 80 housing units, I think, in there. With some retail focus, and then there's the break and access to get directly to Route 13. That break and access is a three-way vehicle intersection, but a four-way pedestrian and bicycle intersection at Fifth Street. That's gonna be interesting to see how that works.
I was about to say, it's gonna take some courage to be the first ones to cross that intersection.
Well, we signalize, but you're right, people will have to get used to that being a spot.
Yeah, because nobody's, I mean, people kind of burn through there, but
Yeah,
it's nice because you should be slowing down anyways as you kind of come in, but as people come in.
right, they may have to adjust the speeds because, people expect they're gonna speed up as you go out that way, and they're already at 40 or
Well, and the
45.
lanes open up
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right? So, yeah, okay, so, and then.
so that's a Cuba Health System project, that's,
Well, Cuga is one of the tenants. It's actually undertaken by a different group, but,
Okay.
and they're the group that's actually, it's, Park, what's their name? Park Grove. They also have done some, market rate apartments up by the airport on, what is that funny named road? Dead ends that goes in there. They built a series of units there. They bought a couple of housing projects. The senior housing project up behind Trip Hammer Mall is their project. So they've done a lot of projects in the area.
Mhm.
They're kind of Rochester based. And so they're the developer behind the projects. And then they sold off a parcel to Cuga Medical.
And do you have a sense of what kind of retail they're gonna be looking for?
I-
Like food or?
I
or
think-
more like-
I don't know. It's a tricky retail spot in some respects, you almost have to have some destination or something, or
Yeah.
cater to the immediate population.
Yeah,
They think there's a market for it, but it's hard, can't really easily do housing on the ground floor in a set,
No.
something like that, so it might be almost like the loss leader, I don't know, we'll have to see. It's too early to identify, it's not like they have.
no,
somebody
of course.
identified.
I was more just curious if they had a vision. for
Yeah,
what that might-
They think that there's a market for it there, it's got good visibility and other direct.
Yeah, you've got some people who are living in that area now, right? So
Yeah.
we would love to be able to walk across there, but with the DMV parking lot, they have that restaurant, they have that restaurant. They've had a few that go in and out of that DMV parking.
Yeah,
there's a lot of housing projects that are going in that area, aren't there? There's another.
so another one, well, there's the one, City Harbor is the
Yeah.
old, on the other side by, Guthrie, which is stalled, that project hasn't advanced.
Yeah.
It's got approvals for permitting, but it doesn't have a commitment to go forward at the moment.
Where's
think
that?
That's,
Relative to Guthrie, where's that? Is it like here's?
towards the
parking lot?
point, further out
Yeah,
towards the
yeah, okay,
water.
yeah.
You can even see kind of like it's a development site that's
Oh,
in progress.
I walked through there actually with my dogs the other day and I was like, what is going on here? So
Yeah,
that's.
they did the improvements along the water's edge quite a ways out. But
Yeah,
they
no,
didn't-
it's
They didn't
nice.
finish
Yeah.
the housing piece.
Yeah.
I think they're, realistically, they're probably waiting for interest rates to drop a little bit. That's
I
their
think we
goal.
all are.
But they may have to a long way, we'll have to see.
And Guthrie's also doing housing there.
No, Guthrie's done with their projects, as far as we
okay.
know, they're not, certainly, not to my knowledge. So we'll see, the other big project is the one behind. How do I describe it, Gateway project, is the project. along the creek, behind what is now the Dean Building.
And who's,
That's a student housing development group, which has got a 340 unit project that they're trying to, build. So,
Thank you for answering my many
Yeah,
questions
sure.
about our name.
Yeah.
My wife is like, make sure to ask Nels about that. I'm like, I will.
there we go.
all right, is that,
That was the update
That's
on
it.
urban renewal projects, yeah. In your packet, I did, just as a reminder, provide you with the IURA committee structure and kind of the responsibilities of governance committee, Paul is asked to take a look at. And so we've kind of broken up this, 4 meetings a year, always hold special meetings if we want, but I mean, we have this. First one is kind of independent contractors, the second one is looking at the audit and the public authorities reporting. In summer, we can look at personnel, strategic planning, HR kind of issues, any policies. Then we get to fall and it's budget time again. So that's our basic circle, our cycle here. But if there's anything else that you think you want to, focus on, show you the framework here, which is somewhat established in law with public authorities and also somewhat just thinking about what the agency probably needs some support with sometimes. And so we talked before you came, David, that, we've had a frequent vacancy with Susan, and that I will approach the chairperson about whether we can try to find a member who can make it a little more regularly.
Yeah. Well, this probably is the worst time then to share that this is gonna be my last meeting.
Yes, that is a terrible thing.
Yeah, I'm
But
sorry.
good to know, that's all I
Yeah,
need.
yeah, I just accepted a new position at Binghamton University
Oh.
that is going to be keeping me out of town quite a bit, so
Congratulations.
unfortunately, it's not gonna be. But I want to talk to you because part of the position, since it's a public university, is I'll also be executive director of their Binghamton University Foundation. And I don't know how much you know about these foundations, but they actually do urban renewal work
Really?
in Binghamton.
No, why didn't-
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, I didn't know until I went down the interview, but the outgoing executive director drove me around and she's like, oh yeah, we buy up properties, we deal with developers, we are basically part of the revitalization arm of
Does
urban
make
renewal
sense
in
for
Binghamton.
a university that's concerned about its immediate environment.
Exactly, but it's even, it's actually throughout, it's Binghamton, it's Vestal, Binghamton and Johnson City.
Wow.
They just have a lot going on there. So I feel like I want to talk to you because
Yeah.
there's gonna be an element of my job now that actually is gonna be urban renewal, which is really interesting. So I'm sorry to say, yeah, I'm gonna have to step off.
Too bad.
I know,
Then we've
Yeah.
got 2 positions to fill.
Yeah, it's been, I think, like 20 years.
Yeah,
so-
you've done your time. You've done your time.
And I-
yeah, I think you were on when I came on.
No, yeah. I started right after I got on council, I think, which is 2006.
It's our usual strategy is to pull somebody on.
Yeah,
council who's got
Yeah,
some
and
experience.
I've really enjoyed it, but yeah, I'm afraid
Yeah.
this is the time that I need to.
Oh, Congratulations,
Great.
Thank you so
That's-
much. Yeah.
You're gonna-
Right.
you're not gonna move to Binghamton.
No, my son's still in high school, so we're gonna keep our house here.
It has been 20 years, I remember.
Yeah, he's 6'4". He's bigger than me now.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he's in 10th grade at high school. We're gonna stay in Ithaca. There's no question about that. I'll probably get like a crash pad down in Binghamton just so I can have
Yeah.
somewhere to land
Right.
with late nights. But no, we're dead. We're not going anywhere. And that actually was part of it. Was I'd been at Cornell, I was at Syracuse, and then I was looking for the next step, and Binghamton actually is where it happened. So
It's a very good school too. and
It's a
yeah,
freaking
yeah.
fantastic
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
So I'll be leading development down there, which will be
Interesting.
really interesting.
Interesting. Cool.
So anyway,
Development will both be fundraising and urban renewal activities, right?
it's gonna be really interesting because it's a dual role where I'm the vice president of advancement or development. And then I'm the executive director of the Binghamton University Foundation, which is a separate nonprofit that does all sorts of crazy
So
stuff.
it's 2 jobs with 1 person.
Yeah, it's actually a good thing to merge them, but in any case, it's gonna be a lot. So maybe I'll be able to come back at some point in a few years, but for now, I think it's gonna take up all my time.
Yep, understood. Okay.
So I'll be submitting my resignation letter to you, Kathy, in the coming days, but I wanted to come and share the news.
Thanks
Yeah.
for that. Thanks for all your work and all your time.
Of course.
So I've got 2 members to search for.
Yeah, I guess my wife.
So, did you just want us to look at the governance committee or all the committee structures?
It's
You gave
a
us
free for all for discussion. If you have anything that you want to bring to the attention of the IRA or discuss internally, we can do either.
So I was just curious, do this committee structure meet your needs?
Yeah,
It,
I think it has, yeah, I mean, there's always a balance between how many meetings do you wanna have, you know, on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And still get work done that doesn't require preparing meeting packets. And I think that, the Neighborhood Investment Committee has a heavy workload during the grant cycle and.
yes,
And then managing those projects when there's issues related to them, and working through them and staying up on, you know, the progress of those projects. And any kind of general housing related issues. ED committee's done a great job with job training and loans activity. And the full IRA, you know, somehow absorbs some things just at the full IRA level. It has worked out well, I think, for the functions that we perform.
so you're not required to have a certain number.
We are required to have an audit
Audit.
committee and a governance committee by public authorities law. The other ones are our own choice.
I just want to make sure if it works for you.
Yep, it
Some
does.
places are trying to switch their committees together for the mere fact that you said it just too many packets, too many people to corral, so.
Right, if, you know, because Anissa does the ED committee, I mean, the neighborhood investment committee, that. It's, you know, and I kind of do the other two committees, it's a very manageable workload.
Good.
Thank goodness this committee meets 4 times a year, not 12 times a year, I guess,
Do
right?
the other ones meet?
The NI committee doesn't miss a month, I mean, maybe they missed 1 month in the last 2 years, the ED committee is very much responsive to projects that are coming forward. So we did have we were just talking last meeting, it's a feast or famine for the ED committee, because they went 3 months without a meeting, and then we had a 5 agenda item
Yeah.
meeting just this month, so.
Then we're just on to, I can scroll way back to my agenda again.
Yeah, the
Just
financial
the
review,
financial review.
yeah, we've got the grant summary, the loan repayment report, and the lease repayment report. Everybody's current on the loans except for Diane's
Yeah.
downtown automotive just fell out in the last 2 months, so we're communicating with her that she's had a long run of being current. So we're talking with her, our leases are all current as we speak, some of them coming a little bit late after the report is published. One bit of news there is Southside Community Center is leasing from us, the ribs facility at 530 West Buffalo Street. That lease is terminating in January, so that the city can undertake a pump station project there. So they will be demolishing the building and putting in a subterranean pump station, which is very much needed because we've always got these temporary pumps floating there. It's never worked right. Apparently there was a major change in the way the sewage flowed. It used to come down West Hill and go right to that site and then turn and go to the treatment plant, and now it goes from, it follows Route 13 up. So there was some change that created some challenges, and now they're gonna do a whole new line and modernize it. So that lease is gonna terminate. Ribs has found a new home, at least temporarily, at Finger Lakes Reuse's gas station building, the little outbuilding closer to Plain Street. It's on their site, but it's not right next to the big building. It's a smaller building that was a gas station at the time.
Yeah.
So that's where they're gonna relocate. It's still a independent program at Southside Community Center. They're not merging with Finger Lakes Reuse. So that's good news. In terms of grants, we're pretty good. Projects are moving forward. Our sticky projects are really ones that are homeowner rehab, because it's been tricky right from the pandemic to get people in. So people were not allowing people in their house, and contractors weren't doing the work the same way. And that kind of created a backlog. But now they're running into challenges again, getting 3 quotes from contractors, because now they're all busy. They don't want to give a quote necessarily.
Yeah.
And finally, the flood regulations are starting to bite onto them. If you do too much work in a house, they have to get flood insurance with the new maps. And so it's a financial calculation. You want the forgivable loan, but then you have to go get flood insurance and whatever cost it is. Although we're working with INHS to say, let's read the rules really closely, because you only have, by federal rules, you only have to get the flood insurance to protect the federal funding amount in there. So if it's a $25,000 roof project, you don't have to buy $300,000 of flood insurance. You just have to buy $25,000 of flood insurance. And I don't think that's the way they've been understanding it, so we want to talk with them,
Okay.
make sure they're not like leaving people out.
Right.
Who could, just because they're in the flood hazard, the new flood hazard areas, which are pretty expansive. You're probably one, I don't know.
I'm sure, yeah.
I am, so that's one of our slow projects. For example, but otherwise, projects are moving pretty well.
Are they recommending that residences get flood insurance?
They've always recommended
Well,
everybody get
of
flood
course.
insurance, whether you're at risk or not.
Yeah,
I think there's gonna be some new information coming out to give stronger guidance on where people are, and it's really also driven by your mortgage and your lender. As will be contacting you and hopefully, but
Okay.
if they think they want the protection,
yeah.
that
We're 2 blocks off the creek, so we've never really
right.
had flooding. Yeah, not cool.
Yeah, so well, there's gonna be more, as I understand it from Lisa, there's gonna be a lot more rollouts of flood issues. And public information available, because it's just can kind of be lingering out there as hanging out there for everybody, but nobody really knows what is gonna happen in terms of flood insurance, so. So that's that. May I answer any questions you have if you have any?
So the projects that aren't gonna happen, like the St. John's, which. Where does that money go?
So what we do is we reallocate the money and make it available for the next funding
The next-
round. Typically, if there's money left over. St. John's is a little complicated because we switched money around. It turns out that we funded it as a home eligible project, and then they told us they weren't gonna provide actual leases. They were gonna have program agreements, and therefore it wasn't eligible for home anymore, because home requires you have to have tenant rights and protections. So then we shifted money through the IRA with to use CDBG funds. So we did provide them with some funding support, but not the original amount that they thought they were gonna be eligible for. But the general rule is if a project doesn't go forward, or if they finish the project without using all the money, we roll that forward in the next action plan.
And that's the same with, there were 2 of them, the St. John's and the Black Hands Universal, they just,
Yep, Black Hands Universal finished their project, they didn't draw all the funds, and we're returning, what is it, like $2,000 back into the pot or something. So.
Right.
Yeah, in that case, it wasn't that they didn't finish it, they just didn't draw down all the funds.
and just to remind me, when do you need to be in compliance with the spend down?
It's
Just once a
every
year?
June 1st,
June
once a
1st,
year,
yeah,
well,
okay.
May 31st, maybe technically, but. Yeah, we're gonna be challenged on it, it's gonna be tight again, because we have. The big dollar amounts are the homeowner rehab and the ED loan amount, and the question with the ED loan amount is. You wanna have enough to address a demand that comes forward, but that's dead money if you're not. If
Right,
not being
if not being-
dispersed out, it works against our calculation. So we're doing some internal calculations now to say what should be our amount available. We have a current loan going through the process for $100,000, but what amount should we have, really is the question. So more on that, because that'll be a question that comes up when we develop the action plan. The question always comes up, how much of the action plan should be allocated to the ED loan fund? The ED loan fund has been generating about $150,000 to $180,000 a year in loan repayments.
Yeah.
So that gets wrapped into the question, like, what do we do with that 180,000? Do we put it back into loans, or do we fund other activities? So.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone have? Okay.
Good. I had one quick staff report item here, or 2 really quick ones. One is the IRA leases to the drive downtown at the Child Care Center at 502 First Street. That lease is coming up on its expiration. It's just this natural expiration. It might be 30 years, 20 years or 30 years. So we're corresponding with them to say, hey, what do you want to do? And come the end of April, because the lease expires. They're getting ready to submit a request back to the IRA. My expectation is they would like to extend the lease, which they pay $1 a year for that space. So
Sounds like a reasonable amount.
given childcare is
Yeah.
profitability, yes, probably. So that's coming up. And then the other one, just want to make you aware of in the grant summary, one of the ones that hasn't been spending, but has been making a lot of progress is the ski project, the shared kitchen Ithaca. That's a a food incubator kitchen that is physically located at where the space was, when Green Star had the space.
Yeah.
And they've been very successful raising private equity to put in that opened up $150,000 of funds through the IDA to buy more equipment, and they just got another $109,000 grant from the Appalachian Regional Commission. So they're planning to open up in spring, and our funding is available 2 years ago now to basically cut in half the hourly rate for a low mod entrepreneur to use the kitchen. So we're subsidizing low mod micro enterprises who want to use the kitchen. Others will have to pay the normal rate, which is still very affordable. I mean, they're like at 20 to 20, I think they're $25 an hour or something for use. And it's gonna be all really nice quality equipment, ready to go.
This one is kind of tied in the farmer's market.
Yes, the farmer's market was originally, the Friends of the Farmer's Market was the original applicant. It's now kind of spun off to this self-governing shared kitchen of Ithaca Inc.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, but it's an idea that's been tried before.
It's been
And
tried,
it's not
it's,
flown, or, I don't know.
there's been, yeah, there was a lot of analysis about why the other ones failed, and the ski group went up to Rochester and looked at the one up there that has been working pretty well. It depends how you measure success. I mean, it's hard to cover the full costs of operating if you're keeping the costs really low. Typically, what the successful ones have been able to do is work with one of the businesses that is a little larger in scale and regularly uses the facility, so you get kind of a current, a revenue stream that's
Right.
regular, and then you patch together the rest. One of the reasons why some of the other ones have not done well is they haven't met the needs that the individual food entrepreneur needs in terms of like loading docks, steam kettles, storage facilities. And so they think that they've addressed many of those, not all of them, because you'd have to specialize in everything, but they do have a loading dock. They do have all the equipment that is appropriate. They have some storage space for people who need to like warehouse it or cure it or preserve it or whatever they're doing. So they think they've identified, they have a better chance than the prior projects, which were usually kind of not, they weren't really designed for the facility. They were kind of like an existing facility that could then be used, or.
Right, there's one of the ones, community building, property.
Right, they're all these
extension,
small, Women's community building had a horrible problem with for getting goods in and out. It was a very challenging
Yeah.
there. Cornell Cooperative Extension's a very modest kitchen. And it also is tied up. The hours are not always available. It's a tricky business, because then you see ghost kitchens and you say, well, they're making it work as a ghost kitchen, maybe we just. When restaurateurs are just, orders to go kind of thing.
So this be like 24/7, people could come in and go.
They will have ability to come in for very late hours, as
Yeah.
I understand it. We'll have to see how it works. They say that they've got a waiting list of like 40 different businesses that are interested, whether they, how does that translate to actual use of the facility? We'll have to find out.
And it's just the kitchen, there's no like
No retail component.
space, like, could. Say, like,
Classroom? or-
no, I was have an event space, that's what I'm looking for.
I don't think,
You could go
it's
in there
not
and cook
designed for
and-
that. They'd have to pay too much rental space if they were
Right.
to do that.
Hmm.
So I think that building now is gonna be fully occupied with different. Big warehouse. It's kind of been underutilized, so. But anyway, the good news is we'll start to have drawdowns come late spring for that project. And it looks like it's got the financing to, meet their own goals for how the facility can be developed, so. More on that, right? We have more information.
My only other, we can do the meeting schedule review.
Yeah, I just want to make you aware that our next regular scheduled meeting would be on a Good Friday, and if that's an issue for anybody, on April 18th, just to keep that in mind.
I guess it's the two of us.
Yeah. All right, we'll go with the regular meeting schedule unless we do.
Unless, who knows?
No plans yet.
My only question is the housing trust fund. What is? I call it the housing trust fund.
Yeah.
So, do you know,
Community housing.
community.
Want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
adjourn and then chat, or is
Is,
that an on-record question or not?
Yeah,
we can adjourn.
let's adjourn.
Adjourn? Yep, okay, so we're adjourning at 9:47.
All right.
Okay, let me turn off the stream.